Cash is her currency. According to royal commentators, it is what has driven Sarah Ferguson for years. They claim she has always lived beyond her means, always expected a certain lifestyle, and now finds herself facing a financial reality she can no longer ignore. But behind the palace walls, a far more dramatic story is reportedly unfolding. Insiders suggest the monarchy may be facing pressure from someone who knows decades of private royal history. And according to those reports, the choice being discussed is simple but explosive: provide long-term financial security, or risk seeing sensitive royal stories reach a global audience. But how much truth is there to these claims? And why are some observers calling this one of the most delicate royal standoffs in years? Royal watchers allege that Sarah Ferguson is seeking what some have described as a permanent arrangement. Not a temporary rescue. Not a short-term solution. A lifetime guarantee of financial stability. The alleged reasoning is straightforward. If the monarchy expects silence regarding private family matters, then that silence comes at a price. According to commentators, discussions behind closed doors are said to involve the possibility of a substantial long-term financial package. And the figures reportedly being discussed have left many observers stunned. The argument made by some royal commentators is that Sarah Ferguson may be uniquely positioned within royal history. She spent decades close to the family. She witnessed relationships rise and fall. She was connected to some of the most important figures inside the monarchy. And according to those observers, she possesses knowledge that few outsiders could ever claim to have. But here's where the situation becomes even more complicated. What exactly does she know? And why are people convinced it could matter so much? Some commentators argue that Sarah Ferguson knows the private stories behind many of the royal family's most famous chapters. They point to her close friendship with Princess Diana, her marriage to Prince Andrew, and her years spent inside royal circles. According to these observers, her knowledge extends far beyond tabloid gossip. They claim she has witnessed decades of personal conversations, family disputes, and sensitive moments that never became public. For months, rumors circulated that she might be preparing for a major international television interview. Not just another royal documentary. Something much bigger. Something capable of generating worldwide headlines. Some commentators even suggested it could rival previous royal tell-all moments that shook the institution. But according to more recent reports, the strategy may have changed. Instead of public confrontation, insiders claim the focus has shifted toward negotiation. And that raises a fascinating question. Is silence now worth more than publicity? Observers say the palace may be taking these reports seriously because of the potential consequences. According to some biographers and royal experts, this is no longer about helping a former royal family member through financial hardship. It has allegedly become a high-stakes game of leverage. A quiet chess match where every move carries risks. At the center of the story is Sarah Ferguson's reported refusal to fade quietly into the background. Sources claim she believes her knowledge has value. If the monarchy wants certain stories to remain private, then she reportedly expects compensation that reflects that value. Whether those claims are accurate remains a matter of speculation. But according to commentators, the perception alone has created enormous tension. And what happened next only fueled the rumors further. Reports suggest Sarah Ferguson has been living a much more private life in recent years, spending significant time away from Britain, including periods in the Austrian Alps. The contrast is striking. A woman who once occupied the center of royal attention now living far from the spotlight. But according to observers, privacy comes with a cost. Fewer public appearances. Fewer business opportunities. Fewer income streams. Some reports claim several projects connected to her name have struggled or disappeared over time. Publishing ventures, commercial opportunities, and other sources of revenue reportedly declined. According to commentators, that financial pressure may have forced a difficult realization. If traditional opportunities are shrinking, what options remain? And for some observers, the answer is obvious. Leverage the one asset nobody else possesses, her personal knowledge of royal life. What makes this situation particularly sensitive, according to royal watchers, is the timing. The monarchy is already navigating a period of intense public scrutiny. Every decision is examined. Every controversy is amplified. The last thing palace officials would want, commentators argue, is another major royal media storm dominating headlines around the world. But would Sarah Ferguson really be willing to go that far? Some observers believe she might. Others remain skeptical. Critics point to past controversies and public statements, arguing that her credibility has often been questioned. Supporters counter that regardless of public opinion, her proximity to decades of royal history gives her unique insight. And according to insiders, palace officials cannot completely dismiss the possibility that a major interview could attract enormous attention. The concerns reportedly extend beyond Sarah herself. According to reports, the growing pressure has also affected her daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. For years, the sisters managed to maintain some distance from many controversies surrounding their parents. They focused on their own lives and largely avoided becoming central figures in royal drama. But insiders claim that distance may be shrinking. Reports suggest increased scrutiny has surrounded financial arrangements connected to the wider York family. Discussions allegedly involve reviews of assets, funding structures, and long-standing financial relationships. According to commentators, that scrutiny has created additional strain. And rumors even suggest the sisters have resisted certain pressures behind the scenes. If true, it would mean this is no longer just Sarah Ferguson's battle. It would be a family crisis affecting multiple generations. But perhaps the most surprising development lies inside the palace itself. According to reports, senior royal figures are reportedly divided on how to handle the situation. One camp is said to favor a tougher approach. Their concern is simple. If the monarchy appears willing to provide significant financial support in exchange for silence, what precedent does that create? Could future royal figures use the same strategy? Others reportedly see the risk differently. They worry about what might happen if Sarah Ferguson feels abandoned, isolated, and financially desperate. According to commentators, that scenario could create an unpredictable situation with consequences nobody can fully control. And that division, insiders claim, has made it difficult for the palace to settle on a single strategy. King Charles is often described by observers as facing a particularly difficult dilemma. On one side is the institution itself. On the other are decades of personal relationships and family history. According to reports, some believe he fears the fallout that could follow if Sarah Ferguson concludes she has nothing left to lose. But can the monarchy really afford to give in to that pressure? That question sits at the heart of the entire controversy. According to commentators, any substantial financial arrangement would carry significant risks. If details ever became public, critics could argue the monarchy was effectively paying for silence. At a time when many people are struggling financially, such revelations could provoke fierce public criticism. Yet the alternative may also be costly. According to insiders, some palace figures fear that refusing any support could trigger exactly the kind of public confrontation they are desperate to avoid. A major interview. New allegations. Renewed scrutiny of old controversies. The cost of silence might be enormous. But what if the cost of exposure is even greater? That calculation has reportedly become the defining issue behind the scenes. Observers say this is no longer simply about money. It is about control. Modern monarchy relies heavily on careful messaging, disciplined communication, and the containment of internal conflicts. According to reports, Sarah Ferguson represents a uniquely unpredictable challenge to that system. She has personal memories, emotional grievances, controversial associations, and decades of first-hand experience. Most importantly, nobody can be entirely certain what she would choose to reveal if relations deteriorated completely. Adding another layer of complexity is public perception. Despite years of scandals and criticism, Sarah Ferguson has often retained a surprising amount of sympathy. Many people view her as flawed, emotional, and impulsive rather than calculating. According to royal commentators, that creates an additional concern for palace advisors. If she ever portrayed herself as abandoned and financially cornered, some members of the public might sympathize with her account of events. Meanwhile, the monarchy faces broader challenges. King Charles continues efforts to modernize the institution. Prince William is widely seen as focused on stability, accountability, and public trust. Against that backdrop, another prolonged royal feud could be deeply damaging. And that is why many observers believe the real question isn't whether palace officials want to help Sarah Ferguson. It's whether they believe the price of helping her is lower than the potential consequences of refusing. According to insiders, senior advisors are increasingly worried about what this situation could mean for the future. If a financial arrangement tied to silence were ever approved, it could establish a troubling blueprint. Future royal figures might see private knowledge and media leverage as pathways to long-term financial security. Yet if negotiations fail entirely, the monarchy could face renewed controversy on a global scale. That is the dilemma royal observers say now hangs over palace circles. pay a potentially enormous price for stability, or risk a confrontation whose consequences cannot be fully predicted. Either option carries danger. Either option carries political and reputational risks. And according to commentators, that reality reveals just how fragile the balance can become when personal history, family loyalty, money, and power collide. For now, much of this story remains rooted in claims, rumors, and commentary rather than confirmed fact. But the speculation itself has captured enormous attention because it touches on something that has fascinated the public for generations. What really happens behind palace walls when private conflicts threaten to become public battles? And perhaps that is the biggest question of all. If silence truly has a price, how much would an institution be willing to pay to protect itself? Because history has shown that secrets rarely stay buried forever. Sooner or later, they have a way of resurfacing. And if the reports surrounding Sarah Ferguson are even partly accurate, the next chapter in this royal drama may be far from over.